All right. First of all, thank you everybody for joining us. I absolutely love when I get to see a lot of familiar names and faces at our partner network meetings. I even love even more when I get to see the folks knowing each other in the chat. So that's always exciting. Um, We've got a full agenda today, and I know it's going to be very United Way heavy, but it's a lot of information. We want to make sure that our friends and our partners out throughout Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw, they're able to receive it in a few different venues. So to get started, um, please keep yourself on mute when you're not speaking. We know that a lot of times there's a lot of background noises. I am sure many of you have kiddos at home today, particularly because it is so cold. So if we can try to minimize the background noise to the best of our ability, that would be excellent. If not, life happens. Um, we are really going to utilize that chat box throughout the meeting because it'll make sure that we are capturing attendance. It's going to make sure that we capture any questions, and then we are providing accurate responses not only in this venue, but we are able to record those and add them to different FAQs. And then lastly, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take some time to sign in by dropping your name and your organization into the chat box. I always appreciate folks dropping their email addresses because we know those change. We also know we get a lot of new faces in each of our network meetings. So if you're able to provide that, great. If you've been a repeat attendee, I probably already have it, but it never hurts to include it more than once. All right. So today we've got a pretty full agenda. We are going to start off in a few moments by talking about tax prep for this year with my colleague Megan. Then we're going to do a deep dive into our investment strategy. At the last meeting, we were able to do an overview of the new investment strategy for 2025 that United Way is rolling out. This will give us an opportunity to dive a good bit deeper into both the tier 1 and the tier 2 of that investment strategy. Those are both open competitive RFPs. And then we have a few just closing updates that we want to make sure you have on your radar moving into the new year. So at this time, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to ask Megan to share hers.
Thanks, Lauren. Hey, is that working? Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for giving me a few minutes at the top of the agenda here. I'm actually joined by my colleague, Victor Martinez, who will also talk a little bit about our offerings and the help that we need from you all for tax season 2025. So if you take nothing away from the next 5 minutes, I want you to remember that there are thousands of dollars available to low-income workers and families by filing taxes. There is expert help available at no cost. We need your help to spread the word so that those families can claim those tax credits. It's hundreds of millions of dollars across the region. And generally about 20% of people who are eligible do not actually file. So we want to make sure that every single family in the Southeastern Michigan region that is eligible actually files their taxes, claims those credits, claims those dollars, and is able to spend them on what their family needs most. So there is lots more information online. You can schedule appointments online at getthethaxfacts.org. That's also where our FAQs are and information about the process. And you can also call 211 to get an appointment. So how does this work exactly? So we partner with IRS certified nonprofit partners. It's Accounting Aid Society and Wayne Metro. And this is in all 4 counties. So it's Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw. And families who qualify, the income eligibility in 2024 is $67,000. So families and individuals who make less than $67,000 in 2024, that's a joint income if they're married. It is a single income if they are unmarried. They can schedule an appointment, again, online, very easy, or call 211 to schedule an appointment. get their documents together. They meet with a trusted tax expert. Again, our nonprofit partners, Accounting Aid Society and Wayne Metro, are IRS certified. They are actually have higher accuracy ratings with the IRS than a lot of for-profit providers. They know what they're doing. Their specialty is helping lower income people file those taxes and claim the cash that they are entitled to. If folks are like not so sure about it, they've got some questions, they maybe haven't filed in a while, you can also call 211 and follow the prompts to talk to a tax navigator. So we are trying to make this as easy as possible. We need all of your help to help us reach those hardest to reach folks who may have trusted relationships with your organization, and you can help them get in and get one of those appointments, get their taxes filed. It's okay if folks haven't filed in a lot of years. Our partners are experts in this work. They can help them understand the situation. And maybe actually they might have some back payments that are owed to them as well. So what do folks stand to gain from this process? Well, there is the earned income tax credit. That is up to $10,000 for working families. That's a combination of state and federal dollars. So you may recall in 2023, the state of Michigan actually increased the state EITC by 5 times, 5-fold increase. That was a huge advocacy win that United Way was part of that coalition advocating that. So there's more money on the table than ever before. There's also the child tax credit. So that's in addition to the earned income tax credit. Families with children can claim an additional $1,500 to $2,000 per child under age 17. And then there's other credits available. So if a family or an individual is caring for a disabled or financially dependent adult, there's a credit for that. There's some credits to help support the cost of home heating. So there's a lot of money on the table, and we want to make sure that everybody who's eligible claims every single dollar. So who's at risk of missing out? We've got our new families, those folks who had a baby in 2024, maybe don't realize that they're actually eligible for some of these child-focused credits. We've got our non-traditional families, so the grandparents who are raising grandchildren, or aunts and uncles raising nieces and nephews, or any kind of non-traditional family situation may not realize that they're eligible, because what matters for these tax credits is not whether the child in question is your biological child. It matters that they live in your home and that you are caring for them the majority of the year and providing the majority of financial support for that child. So no matter what the family structure is, if you meet that basic test, then chances are you're eligible for that money. I do want to say that children are not required. So the children are required for the child tax credit, but for the earned income tax credit, children is not a necessary piece of the eligibility. Individuals who do not have children are also eligible. The credit amounts are lower, the income eligibility is lower. Those details are all available on our website, and it's also going to be in the appendix of the slides that Lauren will send out to you after this. So if you want more information on exactly who's eligible for exactly what, visit our website at getthetaxfacts.org. That website is also available in English and Spanish. So again, those folks who have language barriers or who have lower education or who just aren't used to filing their taxes for whatever reason, those are the folks that we're really asking you to help us find. Let them know about the benefits of filing taxes. Let them know about the service, again, of no cost IRS certified tax preparation. So I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Victor, who's going to tell a little bit more about how you all can help.
Yeah, thank you so much, Megan. Hi, everybody. How can you get involved and help us spread the word about our free tax filing services to the communities that you support and serve? Well, there's a couple of ways. We can provide information for you to send out through your text or emails, contacts lists. We would ask that you include regular reminders in any newsletters or through communication channels. We have printed flyers and other material available for distribution. Already prepared, we can print them out. We've got them already printed out even, and we can get them to you. And then putting those up in spaces that the community has access to. Excuse me. We would also, we also have the capacity to train staff, volunteers, canvassers to engage residents in conversations about benefits, and let us know. This is really key. Let us know if you have any events or any large community engagement happening that we can involve ourselves and bring that conversation forward, bring that conversation to the community. I will show up. I'll bring material. It'll be awesome. And then if you have any other creative ideas, please let us know. Get in touch. And how can you get in touch? Well, on the next slide. Well, this is our flyer, actually. So we have this is what we have available. I can send you a copy of this for you to print out. I also have printed versions of these available as well. And then our key links, our website, getthetaxfacts.org. Awesome website, looks great, has all the information available. Please, if anybody comes to you asking about taxes, their first stop should be the getthetaxfacts.org website. If you're interested, we also have a partner toolkit as well, where that flyer and other material is available. If you want to get in touch with me, please send an email to taxes@unitedwaysem.org. I'm Victor Martinez, the Community Engagement Specialist and Tax Coalition. So that is what we've got for today. And I really appreciate your time. And just as a reminder, this is what we are. This is who we do. Please get in touch. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Victor, and thanks, Lauren. We really hope to hear from everyone.
Perfect. And I thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. There was one question that was dropped in the chat that can a family claim a child who lives with them, even if they don't have legal custody of that child, but they do live with them most of the time?
So the answer to that question is legally, yes. Legally, the test is whether that child lives with you the majority of the year and whether you provide the majority of financial support for that child. Now, it can get complicated if someone else in the universe is also going to claim that child for tax purposes. So only one adult can claim a child for tax purposes at a given time. So it can get complicated between like who has the legal right to claim that child and what's happening socially in that family. So I don't want to get into like all the nitty gritty there. So sometimes folks do have a challenge of, you know, what are they legally entitled to, and is the other person in their life going to feel the same way about it? So if you claim a child that someone else is going to claim a child, if someone else claims the same child, then the IRS is going to get involved and try and figure out who determines who really deserves that credit. And so from a legal perspective, the person who is providing the housing for the child is providing the financial support for the child the majority of the time. That's the person who's legally entitled to that credit. Does it always happen exactly that way? No, but that is the legal right that folks are entitled to.
Thank you so much. I think that is pretty much most of the questions that are specific to y'all and your team. I know we've got some first timers joining us, so I thought I'd lift this up. Yes, we will be sharing these slide decks. We are going to, by the end of the week, you should expect to receive not only the slide deck for Get the Tax Facts, but you'll receive the slide deck for our general partner network meeting, including the investment details and any other support documentation that gets shared throughout this meeting. So don't feel like you have to, rush and scribble or screenshot every single slide that you see in the next 40 minutes. So thank you so much again to Megan and Victor. We are going to jump back to our other slide deck.
Thanks, everyone. I gotta run.
All right. At this point, we are going to shift over to our investment strategy, really diving into our tier 1 and tier 2. So I will pass it over to our United Way team.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Jeff Miles. I'm the Vice President of Community Impact, and just thank you to Megan and Victor. I think that's a prime example of, we're stronger together and really trying to support multiple layers in the system and get people connected to resources. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about how our new investment model fits into our overall community impact strategy. We're going to take a deep dive into tiers 1 and 2, which are our open competitive tiers this year. talk a little bit about criteria and process, as well as some key dates. There will be some time for Q&A at the end. Please, if you have questions, you can also drop them in the chat as we have been doing. So a little bit about our strategy. We've been really working on revamping this over the last 6 months, thinking about post-COVID world, changing conditions at many layers in our community. And for a long time, we've been focused on ALIS, but this is really the first time that we put that in writing and really declared it. And that it's our first responsibility to serve those families that fall under that ALIS threshold. We've also really tried to simplify how we do that as much as possible and really hit on there's 2 ways. We can increase the amount of financial resources that a family has, or we can reduce household costs. Hopefully that's a both and we can do both. The way that we have organized ourselves in community impact now is in these 3 or 4 buckets rather, and none of this happens alone. Many of you participate in 1 or more of these buckets. But for us, client services is really our people power. That's our 211 call center. That's our utility assistance. That's our social navigation. All of that is powered in conjunction with our partner network here, whether you're listed in the 211 database, are one of our funded partners, or are part of some of the cohorts and collaborations that we have with other funders. It's also the Connect for Care Community Information Exchange, our CIE, and really trying to move on that continuum of integration, technical, as well as social and governance and all of that. We also know that there's really no greater investment we can make than in our youth. And so we remain committed to our education and early childhood work now under this youth opportunity umbrella. If we really want to break that intergenerational cycle of poverty, we know we have to remain committed in this space. And then lastly, we know that a lot of different organizations, different sizes, different types, need different types of support. And so we're really, over the last year, been building that muscle so that we can also serve as fiduciaries for partners that may need additional data and analytic support that we can offer through our teams, and marketing, other types of business services. And so really trying to meet partners where they're at and in a variety of different ways. But these are the 4 buckets on which we are really focusing our impact work now. If you want to go to the next slide. So we talked a little bit about this last time, but we wanted to make sure that we could kind of reaffirm where we're at, how this is working. At one point we had 11 different grant opportunities. That could be confusing for partners. It was difficult to manage internally. But what we really wanted to put forward was this idea of the continuum and really being able to meet families where they're at in a variety of different ways. And so we have taken those 11 different opportunities over the last several years and reimagine them as one continuum with 3 different tiers in it. Again, the goal is to provide flexible funding for all of you. We understand you're the experts in working with your populations, your community members. But again, we wanted to streamline this system. And so the first Fund 1 and Fund 2, again, are open competitive this year. Fund 3 is closed and invitation only, and those have gone out to the partners already. But Fund 1 is really about meeting that immediate, more acute need for individuals and families, whether that's a food box, a shelter bed, whatever it may be, really designed to be flexible, nimble dollars in order to supplement and augment what's going on with organizations meeting those acute needs. Further up that continuum, we know we really want to try and stabilize families for the long term. And so that's our wraparound services and stability fund. Again, flexible funding designed for organizations or collaboratives that may want to partner who are providing a bit more of that wraparound or holistic type of support. And again, really designed to go beyond just meeting that acute need, but really help stabilize individuals and families. And then lastly, our Connect for Care and Systems Change Fund. This is really where we want to tackle more of the root causes of ALIS, working with regional institutions or collaboratives that have been established for a while, and really focusing on also the technical integration that can be powered by that community information exchange. So we can move beyond reporting on just outputs, but really start to track outcomes for families and individuals. and really create that dignified and seamless care coordination that so many of us endeavor around. And again, really trying to create that long-term stability for individuals and families and at scale, and hopefully unlock some new and different types of funding sources that can support the whole network there. And again, this is for all 4 of our service counties now: Washtenaw, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb. So we'll go to the next one and talk a little bit about how this is going to work as far as funding ranges. So Fund 1, Community Access and Response Fund, again, that immediate acute need is really in that $15,000 to $50,000 range. Fund 2, again, this is where we're looking at a bit more of a holistic model. The award ranges will be from $50,000 to $150,000. And then in the Connect for Care and Systems Change Fund, we have 2 tracks I should have mentioned. One is our policy track. So really understanding that we can do a lot in Lansing with the stroke of a pen. And so making sure that we're maintaining relationships with those organizations that are supporting policies that will ultimately support Alice families. Those will go from 25 to 50 and up to 100,000 in one instance. For the CIE track, depending on where an organization is at on their technical journey and where they're at relative to their programming, those awards can range from 10,000 to 50,000. One thing that I do want to highlight this year is that we are looking to award at the full amount that these applications come in. Previously, depending on what the cohort of applicants looked like, we would go through a round of negotiations, usually a reduction in budgets, which we felt was, one, incredibly complicated, did not really help us achieve balance, and ultimately likely diluted some of the work. And so right now we are committed to trying to award at the level that those grants come in at, and not have that additional back and forth around budget reductions. We are looking for a balanced cohort, both in geography and domain and program type. But this year we will be looking to award to the best of our ability at the level that those applications come in with. So that is us as a quick overview. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Emily, who's going to take a deeper dive into Fund 1 and Fund 2. Emily?
Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. As Jeff said, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the 2 competitive opportunities right now. So we're going to focus on the Community Access and Response Fund first, and then move over into the Wraparound Services and Stability Fund. And I'm going to do my best to try and highlight some of the distinctions between them, because we really want partners to be able to choose where they best align and can most effectively engage around our shared priorities. We recognize that some organizations might be able to see themselves in both of these funds. And so we want you to be able to make an informed decision about which opportunity you want to apply for in the coming weeks. So starting with the Community Access and Response Fund, as Jeff said, this fund is designed to provide flexible funding for organizations that are meeting immediate, more acute needs for individuals and families who are trying to access community resources. For this fund, we're really talking about services that are primarily focused on single time limited interventions. And this is really about injecting resources into community around issue areas that have been elevated as top needs in our community, using 211, community level data, and feedback from partners. So for this year, the priority areas for this fund are emergency food assistance. So that can be pantries, community and soup kitchens, food vouchers, gift cards, homelessness diversion and prevention services, things like emergency rental assistance, application fees, utility assistance, legal assistance, arrears, moving costs, etc. Out of school time support, so enrichment programming, before school, after school care, break care, and then interventions that are addressing chronic absenteeism. So think about single subject tutoring, like literacy support, different services that eliminate those socioeconomic barriers that families experience. So things like transportation, laundry services, warm weather gear, that kind of thing. The goal with this fund is really around mobilizing resources to help organizations stay nimble as they respond to these particular issue areas. So organizations that are interested in applying for the Community Access and Response Fund need to be providing services in one or more of these priority areas. The other thing for this fund is that our intent is this is the lowest barrier opportunity to access for organizations. So you'll see that this is a pretty short application with limited reporting requirements, and that reporting is going to be focused on outputs. We want to understand how many people you're serving. As Jeff shared, the funding range for this opportunity is $15,000 to $50,000. Go to the next slide. All right. So now Wraparound Services and Stability Fund, we're sort of leveling up. The intent of this opportunity is to provide flexible funding to organizations or established collaboratives that are providing more wraparound services to stabilize individuals and families. So really think about how you are moving beyond addressing immediate needs and providing maybe a single intervention to offering programming that addresses multiple conditions that impact a household's well-being and quality of life. These are going to be more holistic services. You're really sort of surrounding a participant with all of the different types of support that they might need to put them on a pathway to stability. So, for example, you might be providing behavioral health services, and those services could include a continuum of prevention, education, treatment services, as well as maybe providing case management support to help navigate participants to other resources that maybe your organization doesn't provide directly, but you know are really important to help address that participant's social determinants of health. Alternatively, you might be offering bundled or comprehensive support to youth that includes things like mentoring and life skills development, workforce coaching, career exploration, sort of a whole suite of integrated programming that is really aimed at eliminating barriers that students and families experience. For this fund, we're looking for, this is probably going to be longer, deeper, more intensive interventions than the Community Access and Response Fund. Similarly, because we are leveling up, you're going to see a longer application and some more stringent criteria. Organizations are also going to be asked to move beyond outputs. So you're not just tracking number of individuals served, but we're going to be moving to outcomes and trying to understand what are those changes in condition for those that you're serving. For this fund, additionally, organizations can apply as an individual applicant or an established collaborative. If you want to apply as a collaborative, I know we've gotten a lot of questions about that, and this is a new area for United Way as well. So please keep those questions coming. We're happy to address them. If you want to apply as a collaborative, you need to demonstrate that your group has been working together in some kind of formal capacity for at least a year. And you'll submit a single application with the lead organization and then list each of the additional partners. Under this model, organizations are going to have the discretion and the flexibility to choose how they want to distribute the funding among themselves to really maximize the impact of their work together. For collaboratives, they can span geographies, they can span service areas. Other distinguishing factors, we're not putting limitations on how you want to define a particular collaborative. And then lastly, for this fund, the award range is $50,000 to $150,000. Next slide. Okay. So in early February, we are going to release the application questions and the scoring rubrics for both of these funds to further help organizations decide which opportunity they want to apply for. But before that, I am going to run quickly through the distinctions between the two funds based on this criteria that you see listed. So beginning with the Community Access and Response Fund, we are looking for organizations that can demonstrate that their services are aligned to those priority areas. So one of those 4 service areas that I lifted up earlier. Organizations should have a history or track record of successfully providing the proposed services. We want to make sure that organizations understand the different barriers that Alice households face, and that their services address those barriers and increase access for families. We are also looking for organizations that target populations who disproportionately fall below the ALICE threshold, and will define those population groups in the application. We want to make sure that organizations can reach a significant number of households as aligned to their application and the resources that they're seeking from the opportunity. And then there are 48 municipalities throughout our 4-county region where 40% or more of households are below the ALICE threshold. And we want to invest our resources in those communities with high concentrations of ALICE. So we'll be looking for alignment there as well. And then lastly, for this fund, we're looking for things around financial eligibility. You'll be asked to upload some of your financial documents as part of the application. Generally speaking, your request should not exceed 15% of the prior year's revenue or current operating budget. And then we'll be looking for alignment between the budget and what you have proposed in the rest of your application. For the wraparound services, and Stability Fund grant, again, we're leveling up. So you're going to see that there's more stringent criteria around this opportunity. For this, we're looking for organizations that can demonstrate an understanding of the barriers that ALICE households face and can show how their programming is actually working to remove those barriers. We also want to make sure that organizations have a history or track record of providing wraparound services. They can show evidence for how their care is coordinated and moving clients beyond crisis really towards stability. We're going to be looking for organizations to describe how they prioritize using lived experience and community voice when understanding community needs and developing programming. As I described before, some of the criteria is the same. So we're going to be looking for organizations that are targeting those populations that are disproportionately fall below the ALICE threshold, as well as communities where there is high concentrations of ALICE. We are also in this opportunity, again, moving beyond outputs to outcomes. And so we want organizations to be able to demonstrate how they measure success. And then we're going to be looking for organizations that can demonstrate sort of a diversification of funding, that it's not just United Way funding supporting this opportunity, but other funding is in place as well. I am now going to turn it over to Bridget to talk a little bit about the process and how this will roll out.
Thanks, Emily. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bridget Herman, and I'm on staff at United Way for Southeastern Michigan and was on staff at United Way for Washtenaw County prior to our merger in October of 2023. And so you all know that it's in United Way's DNA to engage in a participatory deliberation process. We engage community members in various constituencies to arrive at our funding award determinations. And so what you see on the screen is the process at a very high level that we are going to experience together between now and June. And so right now you're at the very beginning of this process in January with our partner network meeting. Next month, we're going to host a series of applicant webinars by fund. So we're going to host 2 for Fund 1 and another 2 for Fund 2. Those webinars are going to be via Zoom, and you can register on our website where we're hosting all of the information related to this process. And so once those webinars are go for launch, you'll receive an email from us that you can go ahead and RSVP. You can attend as many of them as you want. It'll be a similar format to this one where we'll walk through some additional information, go through some Q&A, and make sure that you feel adequately prepared to apply an SMA. Notably, these webinars are taking place after we're releasing the full applications and rubrics. So you'll have all of the information you need to make a decision about where you best fit and how you're going to write your application. Speaking of which, our application window opens in March. And so it's important to note that you'll have nearly a full month ahead of time before our application opens and SurveyMonkey Apply, our grants management system, to look at the applications, the scoring rubrics, to talk with the team and to get those questions answered around how you might approach responses, what the best way to approach this work is, right? And as Jeff mentioned, this is flexible operating support to meet your organization's needs, to support Alice families in those discrete areas that Emily mentioned. And so you'll have nearly the month of March to input your information into SurveyMonkey Apply. If you get hung up along the way, our team is there to help with any technical questions. It's a pretty user-friendly system as I understand it, and that's a shout out to my WashINA folks who are used to using Fountain. Once those applications go in, during the month of April, we're going to pivot and all hands are on deck at United Way for Southeastern Michigan, where our team across the full business is serving as grant reviewers. United Way for Southeastern Michigan now covers 4 counties. We have frontline facing staff through our 211 call center, our social navigation team, our MEEP team. So we are client and community facing, but we also, we run our own programs, and then we also deliver supports to the community through grant investments. And so for the first time, we're really engaging our team to support this process for this first round of grant reviews. The next part of our review and evaluation process is we're standing up a community roundtable. And so, as you all know, the grant scores are one piece of information that we use to arrive at funding award determinations. We're a big region. We serve 4 counties. And so now we're going to be engaging constituencies from across those 4 counties in what we're calling our community roundtable. And that's where we're going to be asking some key thought partners and stakeholders to United Way to look at some draft funding scenarios for Funds 1 and 2 and to help us arrive at even stronger decisions about where to place United Way resources. After that happens, funding award determinations will be finalized for Funds 1, 2, and 3. And as Jeff mentioned, this year Fund 3 is a closed process. And then we're going to route those through our committees and our board. And then once that happens, on time and on schedule, you will be notified as to the outcome of your engagement in this process. Funding will pick up July 1. And so for many of you who are currently funded by United Way, we're hoping it'll be a seamless transition and no interruption to your funding from us. So stay tuned. That is our hope and our expectation. And we appreciate you working with us as we embark on this new process. Where am I going next, Lauren?
We are handing it over to Megan to just do a quick walkthrough for SurveyMonkey Apply so that partners can get into that system, familiarize themselves a little bit, and get ahead of the curve.
Oh, great. So this is the nitty-gritty for people who are like, I've never seen this system. Where am I going? Megan's going to walk you through it right now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Lauren. My name is Megan Gorski, and I serve as the Director of Grants Management. I know that you guys just got a lot of information about Fund 1 and Fund 2, and you may be itching to make movement in SMA and get things started. So what we wanted to cover today is just give you one of the prerequisites that you'll need to complete for any funding opportunity issued by United Way for Southeastern Michigan, and that's the organization and financial information profile. So through this profile, we ask that organizations complete some baseline information about their organization, such as contact information, mission, vision, that type of information. And then in addition to that, updating your financial information. Many of you on the call already have an organization and financial information profile on or in the system, but for those of you that don't, you'll need to create that. And for those of you that do, you might just need to go in and do some additional editing. So we'll walk you through that process. If we can move to the next slide. So once you get into the system and you're logged in, you want to make sure that you're in your organization account. And you'll see that by the little building icon next to your organization's name. But you should see all of the active investments that you have applied for. You'll want to go ahead and head to the organization and financial information task and go ahead and click the view button. And we can move to the next slide. Once you're in your organization and financial information application, you'll want to click on the organization or OrgFin organization profile. We can move to the next slide. To go ahead and edit that information, you'll click the little ellipses in the upper right-hand corner and head down to the edit button. Once you're in edit mode, you'll want to review the information and ensure that it's correct. Should you need to change anything, you can go ahead and just change that line item. We can go ahead and move to the next slide. I did want to draw your attention to a new component that we're requiring for all organizations this year, and that's the charitable solicitation registration. United Way for Southeastern Michigan is requesting that all organizations seeking funding upload their charitable and solicitation registration. There may be some organizations on this call that are seeking to apply that are exempt from this. You can go ahead and find out that exemption rule by clicking on the website linked in the OrgFin profile. But if you are, we just request that you submit your request for exemption form. And you can do that by clicking on the upload file button. You can move to the next slide. Once you've reached the United Way fundraising campaign page and you've completed all of the required questions, you want to make sure that you're clicking the green Mark as Complete button, and that'll complete your OrgFin profile. From there, you're going to want to head to your 2023 financial information to ensure that all of your organizational information is up to date there. If we can move to the next slide. To go ahead and edit your organizational or your financial information, you'll click on that 2023 financial information. Can move to the next slide. And to update that, you'll just go ahead and click that edit in the same way that you did for the last slide or for the last OrgFin, and you'll upload all of the required documents. Once those documents that are completed, you'll mark the form as complete. And that'll bring you to the end of updating your OrgFin. If you run into any issues or questions related to the information that's required in either the financial information or the organization and financial information, please reach out to us at SMA@unitedwaysem.org. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Know that sometimes it can feel a little confusing. And if you're new to the system, we're happy to jump on a call and walk you through it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan. All right, so what are your next steps? Right now, we are continuing to socialize that the investment process, so that's that January 21. You can expect to receive an email by the end of this week that will include not only the resources that were shared prior to this section of the presentation and resources that we'll continue to share out, but we will include the slide deck. We're going to include that SMA manual, any links that got dropped in the chat or any links that we've referenced, including registration links to upcoming webinars, who to contact for what. We want to make sure that you have all of that. We are also going to be reiterating where you can find this on our website. There's a whole page specific to grants and investments that we will be sharing these details on as well. As we move into February, we are going to be posting all of the timelines for all 3 tiers. I saw a question in the chat earlier. Are the applications going to be on the same timeline? Yes, they are. So you will get access to tier 1 and tier 2 for our open RFPs. The application packet, you'll be able to view the scoring rubric. So you can start to digest that, ask questions, and feel confident before we open the actual application. We will also be hosting specific webinars for both tier 1 and tier 2, and we'll go ahead and drop those dates in the chat. There will be 2 webinars for the first tier and then 2 webinars for the second tier. You can attend one, you can attend them both. As I always like to say, we record our webinars. Please register even if you're not confident you're going to be able to attend for the whole thing. This way you can guarantee you're getting a copy of that recording. On March 3rd, we will be opening the application and you'll be able to get a notification that those applications are in fact open in SMA. You are probably most likely going to be getting those notifications if you've already gone in and set up your OrgFin profile. So I encourage folks to jump in and start to get ahead of the curve with that process. We will also be holding specific office hours for questions for each of the funds. This way you can really ask those granular questions that are specific to your organization and then your thought process. And then at the end of March, that March 28th, that is when applications will be due. As we enter into April, May, and June, a lot of activity is going to be happening behind the scenes. So Bridget went over into the high level process of what we're going to be doing for reviews. All of those steps will be occurring behind the scenes. So we are going to be doing our internal staff reviews, our internal deliberations, our community roundtables. We'll be issuing funding award determinations, and those will be issued through SMA to individuals that are attached to each application within the system for each tier. At that time, when those award determinations are released, it'll give you your next steps. If awarded, we will then go straight into the contracting period. So it moves pretty quickly once we send those award notifications out. And our goal is to get those signed contracts completed by our grantees so that everything is up and running for a July 1st start date. So I know that my colleagues have been answering some questions in the chat, but at this point, we do have about 10 minutes left of the meeting. So if my fellow United Wayers want to come off mute, we'll start to dig through some of the Q&As that we have on the slate. Great.
I
I'm
can
trying-
talk, Lauren.
Can we ask questions?
Yes, I'm just gonna lift up one that I see kind of coming up a fair amount in the chat. And it's around whether or not organizations can apply to both the Community Access and Response Fund and the Wraparound Services and Stability Fund. And the answer to that question is no. Organizations need to decide which of those opportunities they want to apply for based on where they think they will be the most competitive and have the most alignment, and how, frankly, they want to engage with United Way around funding this year. So you will need to make a choice, and you will have access again to the scoring rubric and the application questions well in advance of the application actually opening in March to make an informed decision. Joanne, I think, go ahead.
Thank you. It actually